Hello and welcome back to Verbal Money. This is the podcast that isn't afraid to deal with the big questions. Just like, will we ever get that dream heavyweight fight that we always wanted? If only Fedor had signed the contract, we don't have Jamie with us again. We have reached out to him for comment, but he said that there will be no professional repercussions, only public, and we all know that is the most meaningful of all. But I do have Corley, Steve, and Jake with me as always to talk about some fights. Before we get into the weekend's action from the MMA world, I wanted to ask Steve, how was your little day trip to the Misfits press conference? Because I didn't expect it to be as eventful as it ended up being.
Well, I didn't actually go to the press conference. I only managed to get to the weigh-ins. But yeah, I saw a bunch of fighters there, actually. Actual fighters, not like fake YouTube fighters. But no, I got to see a dwarf take down a full-grown man on the stage, so that was fun.
Put some respect on little man's name, bro. Put some respect on little man.
No, it's cool. Had a bit of a chat with a certain AJ McKee, which was awesome. Saw a couple favorites of the podcast, Dakota Ditchever, Simeon Powell, and Dominic Wooding there as well. They were there doing some stuff with PFL, who of course announced their Europe series. They're going to be on DAZN next year. So yeah, it was a fun few hours.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, didn't expect it to be that eventful, but wow, there was a lot that came out of that.
I got the fist pump Slim as well.
Oh, what a crazy time we live in. The first proper event of the weekend was One Fight Night 6, one's first event of the year, main evented by the featherweight kickboxing world championship between Superbon and Chingiz Alazov that we've been waiting for like a year. I expected it to be a super close fight that was going to be studied for years to come, and in the end, Chingiz Alazov, with one of the most impressive performances I've seen in a one fight in a long time, absolutely dismantling Superbon to win the world championship. Steve, I know that you stayed up to watch it. The arena couldn't believe what they'd just seen when Alazov stopped him in that way. Did you see that coming at all?
Not at all. I'm not the biggest expert on kickboxing, but I'm obviously well aware of Superbon. I know who he is. I know how good he is. So I did not see this coming out of Alazov. And he controlled. He was winning the whole fight. It wasn't like he just caught him and then, won the fight. Like you see often in big fights, of course. He was winning the fight and he dropped him a couple times and then got the finish. Just a great performance. So yeah, definitely wasn't expecting that one. And you touched on the crowd. There's no better place to see the kind of crowd that they had for that show than the Ong Lan Sang entrance. Just the crowd came unglued for that man, as they always do. But yeah, it was a fun show all together. Obviously, we had fight that stood out to me was Stamp and Supergirl. That was just an incredible fight. Supergirl came forward, put it on Stamp from the first minute, and I actually picked Supergirl, or I thought she won that fight. It was close, but I had Supergirl up. I don't know if you wanted to go over the rest of the card or you want me to continue, but
no, I agree with you. I thought Supergirl was fantastic in that fight. Yeah. And it's definitely going to be one I watch back a lot. Something I am not going to watch back a lot was Mikey Musumeci's championship defense.
That was not good to watch, bro.
No. I have written about 3 articles on it today where he describes his opponent's leg as like cardboard in the way that it just ripped over and over. And yeah, one of the most horrific things I've ever watched in MMA was that happening to him. I mean, I don't know how he lasted until the end of the fight. Fair play to him. Ong Lan Sang's performance was good. I
think on the press conference, the way Mikey described it was he's never felt an opponent's knee explode like that. Yeah.
Like, it wasn't fair play to the guy for sticking it out until the end, but Jesus Christ, have some common sense every now and then.
Well, I don't know if you guys saw, I think I saw the report of the injury earlier today. I think it's an ACL and either an MCL or PCL and a meniscus, all three.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Not great. He's going to be out for like a year with that one. So
Yeah, basically everything you could injure in that position, he injured. Like, horrific. Rod Tang's fight was entertaining. I feel like I don't even need to say that at this point. For me, the highlight of the event was seeing a certain Alistair Overeem sat front row. That is very exciting, and I cannot wait to see if we get an update on that with the open weight Grand Prix they are doing, which has got everyone talking.
And this is why I was mad that Chatri didn't do the press conference. I had that question ready to go.
Oh, it would have been the first question, I would imagine.
Yeah.
We got a UFC fight night the night after the first UFC event of the year. Main evented by Sean Strickland, like the last event of 2022, which is crazy that happened. I'm gonna go to Corley on this because I feel like I have no idea where you're gonna go on this. How do you feel about Sean Strickland?
It's a dickhead.
Okay.
Just a dickhead. I mean, no, it's just a dickhead. I hate. No, I don't hate. That is a very unkind word. I just don't get how he talks. So I'm going to kill a man and then jab a man to nothing. Like, not even to nothing. Just jab a man. Just don't like Sean Strickland.
I had a feeling you'd go that way on it. How impressed were you by his performance if you watched it?
I will not lie. I turned it off after the first 2 minutes. I just can't stand to watch him. I don't turn off many fights. I just don't like watching him, and that's no disrespect to him, or it is, whatever he wants to take it. But no, I just don't like watching him. I've kind of thought now, why watch someone you don't like when I can go and get an extra hour in bed before the kids get me up?
That's fair enough.
I was gutted though. I will say I was so gutted for Damon Jackson. I was so gutted, like so gutted. But it was coming on it. It was coming on it. Oh.
Yeah, I mean that performance by Danny Ige to remind everyone that he is not a stepping stone in this division. Absolutely phenomenal finish. Jake, was that the highlight for you? Or was there something else?
Yeah, it probably was Danny Ige's performance because he got very emotional in his post-fight interview as well, talking about how he hasn't had a win in almost 2 years, and how important it was that he got this win over Damon Jackson, who is not a bad fighter by any stretch of the imagination, a guy who is about to break into the top 15, but Danny Ige he put him to sleep, and it was an awesome performance from Ige up until that point as well. The main event, I thought it was actually one of Sean Strickland's more exciting fights because he went forward for once in his life. Like, I'm usually in the same boat as Paulie. I love to use the phrase "death by 1,000 Sean Strickland jabs" because they're about as effective as a paper cut. So
is it worth watching?
Go forward. I thought it was, honestly. He went forward for a lot of the fight. I gave him every single round. I know the judges had it 49-46 and 48-47, something like that.
I let my bias play too much into my viewing time now, to be honest. I think I need to mature myself a bit more.
No, I thought it was honestly a decent performance from Strickland against a good opponent in Imavov as well. And considering that Strickland took the fight on Tuesday of fight week and just rolled off the sofa and did that. So I thought it was pretty impressive. I'm not overly high on Imavov. I thought his performance against Joaquin Buckley left a lot to be desired. I expected him to be a lot more dominant against Buckley. So I had my doubts, but I was still picking Imavov to win by decision. My verdict was awful this week. And I'm probably rather far down in our league that we have going on.
Mm-hmm. I think I only got one pick right, to be honest with you, this week. Wasn't good. Was not good, man. Kopylov looked good though, I thought. Kopylov looked really good. He had a good performance, man. I really rate him. I can't wait to see a bit more of him.
Against a good opponent as well in Pune. Yeah, Pune hits like a truck. He hits like a truck.
One of those fights in it where they're both so good, they both they have the styles that you want to watch, don't they? When they come together, it's good, but then you can't help but feel so sorry for the loser, can you? But I think they've been when you've been putting performances in like they both have now, even with the Kopylov win, if I'm saying his name right there, sorry. I don't think I don't think Soriano really takes a step back with a loss, to be honest.
No.
At all, but still.
Yeah, Kopylov was one of the people that really impressed me. I feel like the obvious other one to talk about would be Umar Nurmagomedov as well.
Ooh, yeah.
Another ridiculous performance from him. That finish was ridiculous. Steve, I feel like you were going to say it if I didn't, so I'll let you carry on.
Yeah, Umar, I was like, who made Dagestanis that can like knock people out like that now? That's not fair. Yeah, Umar is like really the whole package. He's just so good everywhere. And I was listening to another podcast, I think it was Luke Thomas, going through the stats for Umar in his career. He is like upper percentile in all of them. Like strikes landed, strikes like blocked. Yeah, I can't like list the whole thing now because I don't have it in front of me, but I'll try and find it and like tweet it out or something. But it's just ridiculous. The level he's on, and I've heard people talking about it. I think Umar versus Merab might be the fight to make now. But you guys,
it's a big step up, but I don't think anyone wants to fight Merab at the minute, and it's not like he's going to be getting a title shot.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I wouldn't be opposed exactly, but I think the funniest thing to come out of Umar versus Barcelos is on MMA Guru's Fight Companion. Now, I don't watch MMA Guru. I didn't even know he existed until 6 months ago. Everyone was like, how have you not seen him? And I was like, I don't pay attention to shitty YouTubers, especially when it comes to shitty MMA YouTubers. And on his Fight Companion, he was saying before that like Umar is so overrated and Barcelos is probably going to smash him. And then directly after he knocks him out, he's like, he acts like someone has said it in the chat, and he's like, yeah, I know Umar is such a weight bully. He's so big for this division. Like as soon as he gets something wrong about Umar, he has to change his narrative straight away. It's like the fact he hates on Dagestanis to an obscene level. Like Steve made a joke there that the Dagestanis are getting too good. But like, I feel like that guy actually hates people. He hates people from around there. So yeah, that's the funniest shit I've seen come out this weekend.
Let's touch on Javid as well.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You beat me to that one.
Big win over a fellow undefeated guy. Yeah, and he called out Chris Gutierrez, which I think is a great matchup next.
God, that fight will be so good if it happens. I'd love to see that. But yeah, really well-rounded performance, I thought, from Javid. Just looks super comfortable wherever the fight goes. One of those examples of a guy that can just do everything so well. It all just flows naturally for him. Without a shadow of a doubt, the biggest talking points from the night were not the fights themselves. They were announcements that came out both at the end of the fight card and kind of as it started accidentally when we found out that John Jones will be coming back to face Cyril Gane for the heavyweight title. And then later on in the night had confirmation from Dana White that Francis Ngannou had been released from his contract. Wow. Let's start with the Francis news and then we'll talk John Jones. Do you guys think... I've seen people saying this is so disappointing that we won't get to see Francis compete. It kind of harms the UFC by them having a champion leave and things like that. How do you guys see this for both parties? Corley, I want to get your take on this.
It's just a loss for the UFC, innit? Like, it is such a bad loss. They have lost the baddest man on the planet. Like, it's done for. Do you know what I mean? I honestly can't believe they've let him go. I've not let him go. He's decided to go himself, and you can't knock his reasoning. More money, lesser competition, go for the kill. But at the same time, you can't help but feel we've been deprived of so many good matchups, man. Like so many good. I would love to have seen Ngannou versus Jones. I'd have absolutely loved to have seen that. I would have even loved to have seen Ngannou versus Blade. Blade's on a killing streak, man. I feel sorry that Blades has just been left out of the equation, but you can understand why. If Ngannou's gone, you need a draw to replace him, and John Jones is there, man. big win for whoever signs Ngannou. I'm assuming BKFC are going to come in with a big pennies to secure that bag. Everyone wants Ngannou. You just imagine him fighting like Sean Merriman or something, headlining like Knucklemania. It is just, it's going to be terrible, man. But I think he signs with PFL, super fight division. I don't think he does the season. I think he goes in, £1 million fights, whatever, and then I reckon he'll do boxing in between when he's not on that.
Yeah. I think that obviously a lot of talk since then has been what Francis will do now, and I feel like the PFL is the obvious choice in that they could offer him super fights and boxing potentially as well. There are some other options. I'm curious, do you guys think, Jake, if on a scale of 1 to 10, how possible do you think it is that we see Francis Ngannou competing bare knuckle?
Ooh, 4, because I think like the owners will probably go to a big bank and say, "Hey, we'll pay you back if you give us a shit ton of money to sign Ngannou," because it's going to take a shit ton of money. I just don't think they have the funds. They were going to put in an offer for guys like Mike Tyson and Vanderlei Silva, something stupid like a $20 million fight, but that fell through. Now, do I think it's going to take 20 million to get Ngannou? Probably not. So they could come out of the woodwork and they could get something like that, but I don't think they have the funds for Ngannou. But with that being said, I don't think the money is not as much of a concern for Ngannou as people are making out as they're making it out to be. The problem with Ngannou and the contract that the UFC offered him, which he turned down, it wasn't the money. It was that, it would have been a multi-fight deal and he wouldn't have been able to do boxing. Whether or not you believe Dana when he says that Francis would have been the highest paid heavyweight of all time, which I don't personally. I think he was talking out of his arse just to make Francis look bad. Whether you believe that or not, it's not a case of the money. It's about, fighters' rights as independent contractors and that kind of thing. So I'm happy for Francis. I don't think he goes to bare knuckle though. I do like the PFL idea, as Coley was saying, because with Jake Paul there, and him doing boxing in between his fights in the super fight division, I can just see that's going to pave the way for some of the bigger guys in the sport. Some of the more popular guys like Ngannou, who maybe leave the UFC, go to PFL, fight in the super fight division, compete in other sports outside of that. Even guys like Nate Diaz, 1 or 2 fight deals to go fight in the super fight division, make a shit ton of money, and then go, box Canelo or Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder or whatever the hell. No, I don't think bare knuckle has a good chance of getting him, because I know the money's not that big of an issue, but I still don't think they're going to be able to offer him something worth fighting a man with no gloves on,
Yeah.
That and like a murder charge against Ngannou could really harm his reputation as well. If he hits someone with no gloves on, he may kill them. And that's just, he's a health concern. There's my reasoning for why Ngannou will not fight in bare knuckle. The commission won't license it. They'll say he's like, he has to classify himself as like a lethal weapon or something.
I was convinced, though, to be fair, I need to have a look into it a bit more, to be fair. I don't know what the heavyweight boxing scene's like at the minute. But prior to the news, just as the news was broke, I was convinced, with him mentioning boxing so much, like he wanted to go and do boxing, I thought maybe him and Frank Warren have a little background agreement there for Ngannou to fight Fury at some point. That's why he's so eager, like he needs to be able to box his contract because it's coming. Do you know what I mean? And I think I saw what PFL tweeted him. No, it wasn't PFL. I think Sean O'Connell said, "Come to the PFL. We'll do a mega event in Africa next year." So I know it's just Sean O'Connell, but I just would not put that past PFL. Do you know what I mean? Ngannou's first fight for the promotion in Africa. That numbers.
Yeah, that'd be huge. I feel like I'm adding to what Jake said about him being a health risk, But man, I kind of wish this had happened a little bit before so that we could talk about Francis Ngannou being in the open weight Muay Thai tournament. But again, going back to an idea that we had a conversation about in our group chat a few days ago, with them drawing names out of a hat like on the night of the fights, they would not be allowed to put Francis Ngannou.
Oh my god. Ngannou versus Rodtang in the first round. I think Rodtang could take him.
When we get over versus Rodtang,
Chop the legs.
Yeah,
I mean, if we get over versus Rodtang, then I won't talk about Ngannou competing in it again. Anyway, I'm fine with that. I'll take that.
You mentioned one though. Of all like the other champions, the fight I think I want to see the most would be Ngannou versus Anatoly Malakin. That's a good
No, it would be a good fight. It would be a good fight. There's good fights for him in every promotion, but I think you need to kind of be logical about.
I don't know about Bellator. I'm sorry. I do
Yeah,
not care
come
about
on now.
Francis Ngannou versus Ryan.
Okay.
Sorry.
Don't put this. Put some respect on Ryan Bader's name, or
No, I
like
won't.
Ryan Bader.
I refuse to.
Ryan-
Right?
Ryan Bader.
I made an article. I made an article like a year and a half ago about like interpromotional fights and like what the biggest fight in every division would be. I had to do Ngannou versus Ryan Bader, but I was so ashamed of having that as my heavyweight fight. The article never came out. Every other fight was good, but that being the heavyweight one, how can you even call that a contest, right? Ryan Bader versus Francis Ngannou, he'd kill him. It would be like you could give Ngannou 19-ounce gloves and he would take Ryan Bader's head off. No disrespect to Ryan Bader. It's
no,
but yes, disrespect intended to Ryan Bader. Yeah.
You're giving Bellator ideas, mate. They're gonna be like, hey, Fedor, what about one more for the road?
One more. Oh no. Open weight, mixed rules in Japan, New Year's Eve.
Ryzen, that could be a decent one. That they might have the money to get Ngannou. You never know.
I reckon they've got the money from that Yakuza affiliation there in the back pocket. But who's he gonna fight? Shrek. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Who's he gonna fight? And the only fight I want to see if he goes to Ryzen is Duho Manchoi. Like I want to see that.
I was gonna say it.
Duho Manchoi looks like Shirley off EastEnders. I literally saw him one time, and that's the first thing I thought of. And I thought, you know what? I love this man. Just jabbing mad jabs out of a monk, and the monk's just like, and then just goes at it. So I love Duho Manchoi. Shout out to Duho Manchoi. Wait, I'm saying the wrong man. It's not Duho Manchoi. It's Chuk. No, what's his name now?
Ho Manchoi.
Oh my.
Is that his name?
Oh my God, I forgot his name.
Yeah, it's not the Superboy.
No, it's not Superboy.
Duho Choi is Superboy.
It's Hong Man Choi. Don't know who I'm on about.
Hong Man Choi.
Hong
That's
Man
it.
Choi. I love Hong Man Choi.
Dude's 7 foot
Saying
tall.
it sounds
7'2".
Hong Man Choi.
What about Ngannou versus Bob Sapp?
Fight Circus is always one. Bangs and Money versus Ngannou. I'd pay to watch that.
Triller. I want to see Triller make a comeback, and I want to see Ngannou in that weird MMA boxing hybrid in the triangular ring.
In the triangle.
I want to see him fight. Who was it they got in? Kubrat
Frank
Pulev,
Mir.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they got Pulev and Mir. Pulev, who challenged Anthony Joshua for the heavyweight title, by the way. They put him in with 40-something-year-old Frank Mir in a boxing match. And Dan Murgliotta is standing here like this as Frank Mir, as Pulev actually deletes years of Frank Mir's life. He's got him in like the top corner of the triangle, beating the head off of him. And Murgliotta is here like this as Mir is wobbling around the ring. What a freak show that was! But that's all the more reason why I want to see Ngannou fight there.
Yeah, just as long as we all delete Frank Mir's phone number, I'm okay with it. But nobody needs to see that. We have to get to the other big part of this announcement, which is that John Jones is back. Which is mad that we have John Jones back, and yet it's not even the biggest story of the week. Like, that's just the MMA world right now. coming back against Cyril Gane at UFC 285. I don't even know where to go with this. You could talk about him being a betting underdog against Cyril Gane, whether we agree with that. How will he fare against Cyril Gane? I literally had to put out a YouTube video I'd already recorded where I spoke about how I didn't think John was going to be back, but I was hopeful. And then it's like, here he is, out of nowhere, UFC Fight Night, Strickland versus Imavov. Now we know. Steve, initial thoughts when you saw the photo of the banner being put up outside the T-Mobile?
Well, I saw it from one of the many people that reposted it. So my first thought was, can I find out if this is legit or not? Then we found out, of course, it was. Unfortunately, the T-Mobile Arena who put it up is just going to have to live with that. Yeah.
What a fuck up. What a fuck up. That is,
someone's getting sacked. Someone's getting sacked.
No professional consequences. He's just going to have to live with it for the rest of his life.
Yeah, no, people are gonna have to follow that guy around, and they're gonna say that's the guy who leaked Jones versus Gane, and that'll be it.
But no, it's a hell of a fight. And if you mentioned Curtis Blades, of course, but if it's not in Gane is probably the best one. I think Jones as the underdog mainly stems from the inactivity. I don't know how old Jones is now. Is he like 35?
35.
Yeah. That's a long time to be out. I saw a stat. He was out for like the length of time it took from him to be from debut as a pro to being the UFC champion. That's the amount of time he was out for.
That's quite crazy, to be fair, actually.
Yeah.
That's a mad stat,
Like it's over 1,000 days.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's more impressive that he became world champion in under 3 years, or whether or not he's been out that long.
Let me just check. I'll just double check that because that sounds crazy, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And yeah, that's a crazy stat. He's been out for a while, and obviously moving up to heavyweight as well. Something he's been talking about for like 11 years now. It's finally going to happen.
Did we all see that post from ESPN? They posted a John Jones interview from the start of 2013. And he said, I don't have any immediate plans, but I think I'll be up a heavyweight by the end of 2013. They posted that just a couple of weeks ago. I think it was like someone at the UFC just trying to like poke the bear at Jones. It's like, you said this 10 years ago and you still haven't moved up.
John Jones made his pro debut on April 12th, 2008. He beat Shogun for the title on March 19th, 2011.
Fuck.
And now he's been out since February 2020. So it's coming on 3 years. So yeah, it's about the same.
Could you imagine if he gets starched? Do you know, like when he come back the first time against OSP and he just looks so underwhelming? Could you imagine if he just comes back and just gets smoked?
I think he will. Okay, maybe not smoked, but I think he loses, and I think he loses kind of handily. Because
if it was in Ngannou, he was getting smoked. There's no question about that.
I don't like Johnny Jones.
Yeah.
I don't like Johnny Jones outside the cage. I feel sorry for the pregnant woman he ran over, but you can't doubt him in the cage. You can't doubt him. He's just slick as fuck, isn't he?
You know what? I've come around on John Jones. I think I've kind of softened on Jones lately. I mean, he's still a piece of shit human, and I wish him nothing but the worst. But as a fighter, I used to discredit Jones a lot because of his outside activities. But there's been like certain accounts on Twitter just in the weeks leading up to this, just posting like highlights of Jones from his prime and stuff like that. And it made me realize how good he was. And I was kind of like, you know what? I've been too harsh on Jones. He is one of the best of all time, and he probably will look good when he comes back. And then I saw the clips of his most recent fight against Reyes again, and I was like, nah, he's not winning. He's not winning.
I was actually watching a lot of his fights.
He couldn't get Reyes down. He couldn't keep Reyes down. No. How is he going to get Gane down?
A lot of people thought, including myself, that he lost 3 rounds to Dominic Reyes.
Yeah.
To be fair to Reyes, though, Reyes was looking really good coming into that fight, and then just something happened after that fight. He just I don't know. He just thought, can't be bothered with this anymore. And now look at him. What is he, 1-4 or something? His last 5, 1-5, maybe even. His last, I don't even know.
He hasn't won since, has he? He hasn't won.
No, has he not won since?
No.
No.
His last win was Weidman,
Oh my
which was the fight
God.
before.
Yeah, Chris Weidman in October 2019 on a Friday night fight night in Boston, if I do remember correctly. Like that's where Dominic Reyes was at in his career when he had a win at last.
I'm sorry,
Very
Dominic.
unfortunate because he's a nice guy as well, and he can fight. We saw that in his earlier career, but MMA is a cruel sport. But anyway, getting back on topic, I think John Jones gets fisted by Cyril Gane, pretty much. Cyril Gane is just he's phenomenally good at it. Like I would have given him the decision over Ngannou. I thought he won the first, the second, and the fifth, but the fifth was very it's very, how you interpret the criteria, all that kind of thing. But I thought he just edged it. Either way, he's probably the second best heavyweight on the planet. And fair play to Jones for taking the fight. I didn't think Jones was going to move up to heavyweight. I thought we'd never see Jones fight again. So I know I'm not the only one at that boat. I know, Carl, you were just saying that you didn't expect him to see him back this year, and Nick P over at BT, in their 2023 champions predictions, he said this, and this is a hardcore John Jones dick rider. He said that Jones wasn't even going to come back this year. So that tells you where people were at. So fair play to him for coming back, but I just don't think he wins.
So as we are recording this podcast, a tweet has just come out from Mark Raimondi, who very credible source in the MMA world, stating that the Nevada Deputy Attorney General Joe Becker says information has come to light that UFC flyweight Jeff Molina was involved in a substantial way, that is in quotes, with the gaming scheme currently under ongoing investigation related to James Krause. That is Mark Raimondi's tweet verbatim. As we said a few episodes ago, we would be finding out a lot more about this whole James Krause betting saga. We recently found out about his involvement with that betting company, so we are starting to get things pieced together. But what was your guys' reaction to finding out that Jeff Molina is also involved in some way, as it appears?
I'm just glad Jamie's name's not yet been brought up. So as long as Jamie's safe, we've got nothing to worry about.
No, it was me you guys said was with Krause, wasn't it? All those weeks ago.
Yeah, well, come on, Jamie's our betting guy.
Shit, it was as well. It was you, Steve.
No, Jamie just wanted to be paid.
Did Kyle say it at the start of something? Fuck's sake, Corley. Can we start again? Can we just rewind that whole thing? But I'm so sorry, Steve.
Yeah, I managed to get out. It's fine.
I'm sorry, Steve. I'm sorry.
Well, thankfully, Steve, and thankfully that yourself and Jamie are not involved in it, because this is some pretty serious shit. Yeah, there's an FBI investigation going on into James Krause. I'm not too I'm not too in the know when it comes to all the details on this, but from what I know, he was an agent for an offshore bookies, and he was allegedly given insider information about his fighters, about what, maybe they were injured or something like that. That's where the whole thing with Minner and Norton Becca came from. If Molina is tied up in all this, I don't think we're going to see him in the UFC anytime soon. Didn't he get suspended by the Nevada Commission indefinitely just a couple of weeks ago in relation to this?
I think from what I've just read, it's he's been suspended now for this, but he's officially been suspended now. He was supposed to fight on the card last week against Jimmy Flick and got pulled because presumably, as we thought, he just didn't want to not be with Krause. But now we know this, then they probably already knew this and pulled him because of this, and now they've
poor Jimmy Flick. He was getting accused of being in ties with Krause because he shot up from minus 150 to plus 500 and all that kind of thing. And now, we lost an opponent over Krause as well. So
yeah, that's crazy.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
I'm sure there will be more updates nearly every time we do this podcast, so we will check back in on that. And I feel like with that announcement, there is going to be a lot over the next few days. So we'll catch back up with that.
So there was apparently a leaked Discord. Sorry for that.
That's right. No, go on.
There was a leaked Discord message that came out 4 days ago with Molina. This is from bjpen.com. of course. The number one fighter named MMA news source. That's not called the Mac Life. Jeff Molina claimed James Krause, quotations, at times has the scoop on injuries in leaked Discord message.
Oh, that's big. That is big. Because
That's some nasty shit, dog.
It's insider information, isn't it? And then he's passing it on. People are making bets on that, and it's well, aside from being illegal, it's just not very cool, is it? I don't think James Krause is a very cool person.
Breaking news from VMTV. But that
I can't wait.
James Krause found out to be a bit of a prick, according to inside sources.
So now I've not just found this quote of Molina essentially snitching on Krause, which makes no sense given he's now caught up in it as well. But
Jeff is an informer then.
yeah, he's trained with a lot of the fighters, lived and breathed his sport.
Coley's fucking raging. This has gotten more upsetting than anything else because Molina has turned out to be a rat.
No respect for the code, bros. Like,
this
you don't grass on your mates. If you're watching and you've grassed, go and take yourself to bed. Terrible. Terrible.
Yeah. So this is actually, well, it looks like this is just the leaked message. He wasn't really snitching on Krause. This is a leaked message from Molina to the 1% Club in April of last year. He's trained with a lot of the fighters, lives and breathes this sport as a coach/fighter, and at times has the scoop on injuries, non-announced matchups, how fighters look in camp, etc. In stocks, this is called insider trading. In MMA betting, it's called James Krause. For the last...
Now that is an article headline if I've ever heard it.
My God.
For the last 6 months, all my bills, including mortgage and car, have been paid via Krause's picks. Do you favorite the VIP?
Oh
Mate,
my God!
I wish I joined the VIP.
I will, like, a little inside baseball here. Oh wait, I've lost it now. Great. I will drop that in the group chat for you guys.
Oh, please do, mate. Please do. That's so bad. He's just snitched that he's paid off his mortgage and his car.
Yeah, but like he said this
because of fraud.
He said this in the Discord to the 1% Club and it leaked. So that's obviously where this has stemmed from. It's in the verbal money chat right for you guys.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
These hoes.
Wow. Did it say when the article was
Thank
published?
you, Steve, for for pulling that up.
I've lost the tweet that had that in, but I think it was like 4 days ago.
Wow, I'm surprised I haven't seen anything about this until literally just now.
Well, we are in the business of breaking news, Kyle.
Okay, it's in. I'm just dropping the article in now.
I wish I joined the VIP. I saw it and I thought, oh, I don't think I'm rich enough to join this club. I wish I put my £20 in savings in it.
Yeah.
Wow, from January 12th. Okay.
Crazy shit. Some people shouldn't commit crimes because they're just stupid. Why did you just put any of that
That's
on
the
anywhere?
headline.
It is ridiculous.
That's Corley's tip of the week.
I mean,
who needs Jamie for betting advice when we got tips like this?
You've got, like, at least Preston tried to hide it. You know what I mean? Like, he went on the MMA Hour and he was like, no, I'm a millionaire from gambling. Like, I don't make any money from coaching. All one's from betting. Like, that should have been alarm number one. So you can't say they're going to hide it.
Well, I did not expect that we would end up diving this deep into it and finding this much out. I can't believe it was right there the whole time.
Do you have to bounce back to Ghana now?
I mean, like I said, we'll catch back up on that in future episodes once we know a little bit more. But we should talk about some fights that are coming up this weekend. first of all, away from the big UFC card in Brazil, there's 2 fight nights in Europe that you can keep an eye out for. That is Aries 11. They are on UFC Fight Pass. I've been really impressed by Aries over the last year or so. They've done some really good events. They've got a vacant middleweight championship fight in the main event. A guy whose name that I will absolutely butcher if I say it, but he is 15-1. I'll do my best. Abduragimov, I want to say, taking on Rafael Haratic, like I said, for the vacant middleweight championship. That is on Friday night on Fight Pass. And KSW 78, they've got the rematch 10 years in the making between Mikhail Matela and Kendall Grove, former The Ultimate Fighter winner. Their first fight was ridiculous in KSW, so that should be a fun one as well. And that'll segue right into UFC 283.
Before we go into the UFC, can I just touch on a couple more events? Obviously, we've got Invicta this Wednesday.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, I interviewed Autumn Norton the other day, who's fighting Claire Guthrie on the main card. And this show, it's a fun lineup, 2 title fights, and it's on YouTube, so anyone can just check this out for free. And this Friday is the first One Championship Friday fights card at Lumpini Stadium in Thailand. Mainly Muay Thai and kickboxing, but it's in obviously such a historic stadium, so it's going to be a big card, and they're doing regular shows there as well.
Yeah, I think that's on
free as well, right?
Yeah, it's on the One YouTube channel. Chattree cleared that up yesterday.
Yeah. Any opportunity to watch Nongo do his thing, I'm in. So that'll be worth tuning in for as well. But the big card of the weekend is UFC 283 in Brazil, 2 title fights there. Finally, some clarification, hopefully, in the light heavyweight division, with Glover Teixeira taking on Jamal Hill for the vacant belt. Davison Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno meeting for a 4th time, unprecedented in the UFC. Guaranteed to be a great fight. We've seen them do it 3 times and they've all been incredible to watch. So I have no doubt that'll be one of the highlights of the evening. How are you guys feeling about this card? Because I've kind of flip-flopped between being really excited and then feeling a little bit underwhelmed at points by the card as a whole. Corley, where are you at in terms of looking forward to this one?
I'm watching it in the morning.
Okay.
The day after. That is how excited I am. By no means a bad card. It's going to be one of those. It's going to be one of those cards where you can't really make your mind up about it, and I guarantee the whole thing is one of the cards of the year already, guaranteed. But I'm just not very sold by Glover versus Hill as a main event. I'm also not sold by Lauren Murphy fighting on the card either at all, but that is for my own reasons and no one else's. There are some good fights in there. I think there's some good fights in the prelims. Off the top of my head, I could not let me look because I'm just not going to embarrass myself.
So the TV prelims are Shogun in his last fight against Ihor Pateria, Gregory Rodriguez versus Bruno Ferreira, Thiago Moises versus Melquizael Costa, I don't know who that is, and Gabriel Bonfim versus Munir Lezez.
I was going to say, McKinney's on this card, isn't he?
McKinney versus Ismael Bonfim. We got Jalton Almeida versus Shane.
Yeah, I was going to say I'll watch the early portion of the card. Definitely, there's some good prospects on there that I want to keep an eye on.
Wally Alves versus Nicholas Dalby.
I'm going to get. Oh, is that this weekend?
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Oh, I might have to stay up a bit then.
Cody Stamen's on there. There's a rare 145 women's fight on there as well.
Oh, is that the...
I didn't even notice that.
Division.
Josiane Nunes against Zara Fain. Zara Fain. I've heard of both, so that's...
The UFC should literally just do a 135 plus tournament. That wouldn't work. A 145 plus tournament and just get everyone to come in, and because that is the only way Amanda Nunes will get any competition in that featherweight division. There is no one there for her.
Well, she'll probably fight Norma Dumont at some point this year.
Yeah, but other than that, unless she's going to Bellator, I don't think she's going to do that. She's going to retire soon, isn't she? She's got a family now. She's going to be chilling. Because why not?
More likely.
Steve, I remember when the main event got announced, you picked Jamal Hill to beat Glover Teixeira in Brazil. Are you still confident in that pick?
I think he might, but like based on him being a complete dick on Twitter, I hope he doesn't.
You vamos hey, you vamos hey.
Steve,
no.
Steve, you took the words straight out of my mouth, brother. Straight out of my mouth.
But
I was
I
picking
think,
Jamal.
yeah.
I was picking Jamal, but now I'm hoping he gets smashed. He is a dick. And
What
if
have I
that
missed?
guy's the light heavyweight champion.
Mm.
Oh, he's
What
an
have
arsehole, mate. He's
What's he done?
a dick.
Other than our group
Are we
chats,
allowed?
unload. This
Are
is
we
a safe
allowed
space.
to say the guy's name from whom he was defending and all that kind of thing, or do we get demonetized for that? Like, what's
I've got
going
no
on?
idea what you're on about.
Okay.
This is a safe space. I'm
Well,
gonna look.
he's a Dana White defender for a
Oh
start.
no! What a bell end, right?
But then he kept going on about it for weeks and weeks
Oh,
and
yeah.
arguing with everyone. And
And if I'm not mistaken, please do correct me on this, but I also remember him being a bit of an Andrew Tate guy. I could have pulled that out of my
It
hole
wouldn't
from
surprise
someone
me.
else, though.
Do people not
Yeah.
have brothers, not brothers? Do people not have sisters and mothers and daughters? And do they not look and think, if someone slapped my mother, sister, or daughter, I would kick the shit out of them? Because everyone would. So why are you defending Dana White? I don't fucking get it.
He wants a job. Some of the fighters have been so hypocritical about that, though. Like Derek Brunson. This is a guy who has been seen at media events wearing a "I beat up domestic abusers" t-shirt. And then he goes on Twitter and it's like, well, I don't think anyone's in the right position to be beating Dana like this, that, and the others. Fuck off, will you? Just like, you're Derek Brunson. Like, it's not like defending Dana is going to get you a title shot. Like, it's not going to happen. So save your breath for cooling your porridge. Like, just don't bother.
Now, I don't know how accurate Wikipedia is on this, but according to Wikipedia, Jamal Hill has 6 children. So I would assume at least one of them is a woman. I don't know that for sure, but I would imagine so.
There's also the women or women he had those children with as well, you know.
Again, statistically, probably at least one of them a woman. You're right. Which I don't think this fight needed any extra motivation for people to want to see Glover Teixeira become the champion in Brazil, but it definitely has it.
Unfortunately, I'm actually still picking Jamal Hill. Glover Teixeira is 40 years of age, and look, I'm putting my faith in Glover. You know, for him to right the wrongs of the universe that Jamal Hill has been desecrating my timeline with. But at 43 years of age, going up against one of the hardest hitters in the division, I think if he gets once, it probably doesn't end well. It's honestly really impressive that he took all the shots from Prohajka that he did. And that gives me a little bit of faith that things might be restored back to the natural order with Glover Teixeira as UFC champion. But it's just not going to happen, unfortunately, I don't think. I think Jamal Hill is going to hit him. He's going to get the belt. He's going to say something incredibly derogatory to women or children, something like that. And we just have to pray that Prohajka or the fuck out later on.
he has 3 daughters, by the way.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Well,
UFC.com article from June 2021. The humbling home life of Jamal Hill.
man's got 3 kids and wouldn't mind if their fellas slapped them about when they're older. Oh God, what a world we live in.
If they slap first, we should I don't want to get his word.
Oh, of course.
Only if they slap first.
If she slaps first and named Dave, it's just gonna behave. We're not having that logic. We're not having that logic. Out with it.
If we're talking about people who are fighting for titles on this card, who we found out are pricks recently, Davidson Figueiredo is fighting in the co-main event. Big Bolsonaro guy, so I found out. That's never good.
I mean,
I don't.
It's generally an assumption, or a fair, or a safe assumption with a lot of Brazilian athletes. I feel unfortunately.
Yeah, but it's just sad when you find out. And like Aldo in the center of this
thing was
whole government scandal thing, like where he was
Aldo
taking
thing
money off. He was taking like checks off all to be going to poor people in Brazil during the pandemic, and that he's now, Bolsonaro is staying in the minion room at Aldo's house. I don't know how legit that is. I know he's staying there. I don't know if he's staying in the minion room. That's what I saw on Twitter. Yeah, Figueiredo is a bit of a prick. With that being said, though, Moreno's team, his old team in Mexico, I'm like pretty sure they posted a video of Figueiredo at a press conference with a monkey filter over his face, and that caused a lot of problems too. So maybe everyone in this card is a bit of a prick. You never know.
I thought when you said Moreno's team, you were going to mention James Krause. Incredible that he didn't even get a mention in all of this. Wow, that is an awful lot to digest with the 4 men involved in the title fights.
At least Paul Craig's not a prick.
There you go. We've got Paul Craig.
Thankfully.
Paul Craig falls on the floor and does whatever he did at the last UFC London event. Then he will be a prick.
You know what? Paul Craig. Here's my issue. Here's my issue with Paul Craig. I put a bet on the last London show, and I got everything right except Paul Craig, and he ruined my accumulator. So that's my issue with Paul Craig. Stand up fella though, great guy. Bit of a UFC bootlicker. I can look past that though.
Jake going back to his old routine that he had in the draft, where he'd be like, Paul Craig, what a guy, ruined my bet. Throw him for that, but lovely guy. I really thought you were going to pull out the old. He's not as good as he thinks he is, but lovely guy.
Hold on, we've still got fights to talk about. We've still got fights to talk about. Shogun Rua. Why is Shogun Rua on this card? Is he not like 70 or something?
It's his last ever fight in Brazil, Jake. At least give him this.
His last fight should have been OSP in Brazil 8 years ago when he got knocked out by the skateboard. That should have been his last fight.
No,
that should have been
instead they had a rematch.
Who put that fight together? Who put that fight together, by the way? Like, I actually have something against that. There are people in America who paid 70 quid to watch Mauricio Rua, who I swear he's only like 38, which is impressive because he's been fighting since dawn of time.
He's 41.
He's how old?
41.
Oh, he's 41. Okay, that's not as impressive as around.
He was like past the prime of his career when he came back to the UFC and won the title. He was like 28 then, and everyone was like, "Oh, he's old," because like he had all his fights in Pride and stuff he started so young. And when he came back to the UFC at like 28, and he was like, "Oh, he's old," and he's like,
"Who else is on this card that I can insult?" You know what? I actually don't have. You know what? I actually like Lauren Murphy.
Fuck off, no you don't. No, you don't. No one likes Lauren Murphy.
Jake face turn. Jake likes Lauren Murphy.
Did you not watch Top 25? Oh my god! I can't believe.
I think she's all right. Like, she has a good story. She came from a very humble background. She was a drug addict. She turned it around. She fought for the title. Now, as a fighter, oh my, that's something else. But I think she's a nice lady. I like Jessica Andrade as well. Her OnlyFans pictures that got leaked have haunted my nightmares. Those were abhorrent. Jesus Christ. Johnny Walker. I like him. If he doesn't text me back for that interview that he promised me back in September, I'm going to go up to Dublin and pull at. So, like, Johnny, interview me. You may get back to me, please.
This needs to be a new segment of the show where we get Jake to run down the whole card. We'll call it 2 steps forward, 1 step back, because he gives them 2 compliments and an insult every time. Incredible.
Okay, I'm not bad to say it. Oh, just you wait. RoboCop, I actually like him. I don't know much about him as a fighter. He's Brazilian, so he's probably got some fascist political views. Bolsonaro guy. Not a whole lot to say. His cut was really weird, that was horrifying to look at, but that's about it, really. Moises couldn't give a fuck. Couldn't give a fuck. He's so bland. He's so bland, ain't he? Like, decent fighter, but like not a lot to write home about. Shamil Abdurakhimov. How is he even in the UFC anymore?
I'm so impressed with that pronunciation. That was flawless. That was so good.
I've had to practice for years. I've had to practice these names for years. Because he's been fighting for years. For some reason, he's 41, has lost 3 in a row, and is still in the top 15. Ooh. If this doesn't tell you about the state of heavyweight, and he's fighting Jolton Almeida, who I have nothing bad to say about. He's awesome. I like him. He's, yeah, great guy. Lazez, I know him from somewhere, but I can't really put my finger on it. Cody Stamen, I like him. He could be a little bit wrestle heavy sometimes. Don't know the guy he's fighting. Bonfim, again, not overly familiar with him. McKinney, though, right? I like McKinney. I liked McKinney when he debuted, and I still like McKinney now. But he just has a tendency to say and do some very annoying things. He needs to stop interacting with KSI on Twitter, right? It's not going to end well. KSI has a stupid amount of followers, and he's going to get ratioed every time. It's a little bit sad to see. I do remember him saying some really weird stuff about Georgian people. He was, something talking about how, Georgians are weak people because they were oppressed by the Russians or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but it was something along those lines. Not a very nice comment. And he also goes on a bit about how he OD'd. But, like, didn't he OD on LSD or something like that? Like, it's not...
Oh, I wouldn't want that, though. My God. Oh, could you imagine? Oh, I could not live inside of the water yet. So that is some heavy shit, bro. Sorry.
Nicholas Dalby, I like him. Nothing bad to say about him. Awesome fight. His fight against Houston is one of the most underrated fights of all time. That was back-burner. Josiane Nunes, I love her. You know why? Because she's like 4 foot nothing. She's 4 foot nothing and fights at 145 in the heaviest women's division. Love her. Zara Farron. What am I even meant to say? Like, come on. These are women at 145 we're talking about here. That's the whole card full of people I know. And I've insulted every one of them. So, yeah.
Indeed. Did you already mention Neil Magny? I thought that you would have something to say about him.
Oh, no. I forgot about him. The gatekeeper. You know what? Like, I feel like a lot of people, like, they hate on him for no reason, just because, like, he is a gatekeeper. Actually, now that I think about it, I have nothing bad to say. He seems like kind of sound, just... He doesn't big fights, unfortunately. But this is a big one against Burns, which means he's going to bottle it, obviously. He's a bit like England.
There it is.
He's a bit like England in big football tournaments. Do you know what I mean? Like, good, but just kind of all it a bit when it comes to, important stuff. And Burns probably likes Bolsonaro, but that's about it. There you go.
There you go. Wow. I don't know where to go from there. I feel like we haven't previewed any.
I've ruined the credibility of this show and of this company. Like, fellas. Steve,
what stands out to you on the card? That's where we're going from there. I'll leave you to pick up the pieces.
I mean, I was Googling the politics of Gilbert Burns. I'm sorry.
That's fair enough.
Jalton Almeida?
Yeah.
He's gonna finally get himself into the top 15 with this one, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, because Shamil Abdurakhimov is somehow top 15 material. Yeah. You look at every top 15 fighter, or you look at every heavyweight fighter in the UFC, rather, and you tell me that there are only 14 people better than Shamil Abdurakhimov. Really? This is what I'm being told. Who gets on the rankings panel? How do people get on the rankings panel? The rankings are so weird. Shamil, please retire, mate. Like, it's gonna be something like 3 knockout losses in a row after this. or just like three stoppages in a row, something like that, or 4 stoppages in a row.
Well, they'll
So-
cut him after this one, and then he can go and make a super fight with Francis Ngannou, can't he?
Like we all want to see.
I would pay you pay-per-view for that.
PFL Super Fight Series. There you go.
Have that one on us.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I feel like I don't know what it is about this card, but I feel like I've really not seen many people talking about Moreno versus Figueiredo 4, which to me is like, I'm so excited for that fight. Every single one of their fights has been right up there for my favorite fights of the year when they've happened. We're getting a 4th fight between them, which has never happened before in the UFC. And I just know 100% what I'm getting, which is that it's going to be a great fight. Corley, does this not convince you to maybe stay up? I mean, don't get me wrong. I didn't think it would, but
I won't lie to you. I've gone off the UFC product a lot recently. I don't know what it is. I am far more entertained watching PFL 1, Cage Warriors, KSW, LFL, whoever the fuck is on my telly seems to be doing a lot better of a job than UFC at the moment. It's just.
Did you say LFL?
Yeah, I
Did you say
did.
LFL?
Levels Fight League.
I thought you meant like the lingerie league.
This we'll come back to the UFC card in a minute, because we put together the awards for VMTV. Finding their logo when you have to type in LFL, and I did not realize that the lingerie football league is as popular as it is. So it was an absolute nightmare.
There's a lingerie fighting league as well.
Oh, football league. Sorry, I mean, why not? There probably is.
There is. I was like,
Oh, is
And
that?
Steve's like, I'm a fan.
No. I will explain how I know. Because I was supposed to interview.
Because you're a fanboy, Steve. Don't lie. You've got media credentials.
Yeah, definitely. And I was supposed to interview someone with PFL who like used to do some stuff with them and talked about them in interviews and stuff. That's why.
Yeah, of course.
Fair
That's
enough.
right.
That is the reason. That's why it was like fresh in my mind when he mentioned LFL too. Like,
You were waiting for people to bring it up. So like this is the one topic you're so passionate about. When people bring up the lingerie fighting league, this is Steve's moment to shine.
apparently it's all the work too. Apparently, like it's fake.
How dare they call
I
us.
didn't even know it was a thing. I only found about the lingerie football league the other day through making those graphics, trying to find LFL. That is a nightmare. Idea.
What are they?
Imagine Corley saying that he prefers their product to the UFC these days. I know you like to be niche, but
It's not even niche.
I just
don't-
accused them of fixing their fights. Let's move on.
I just can't.
This
I just
episode
can't
gets us
get into it
cancelled.
anymore.
I've insulted every fighter, every noteworthy fighter on this card, and Steve has just called the humble lingerie fighting league. They're going to accuse him of having affiliation with James Krause next. You know what I mean? This is shameful from you, Steve. You're the one who ruined this, not me when I insulted every fighter on the UFC card.
well, yeah.
Apparently,
I
it's
don't know.
LFC Lingerie Fighting Championships. No,
Ah,
different
okay.
company.
Well, LFC, sorry.
Stay tuned to Verbal Money to see if they put in an offer for Francis Ngannou. Is there anything else on the Brazil card that you guys want to talk about before we close out this absolute nonsense?
This episode is literally
McKinney.
getting called, like we've spoke about McKinney, haven't we?
Yeah, well, I was just calling him a prick, man.
yeah.
I know. For the reference, right? I don't wholeheartedly believe everything I said. It was all in jest. Some of it, I believe. I mean, most of the stuff I said at Jamal. But yeah, McKinney, I'm excited to see him fight. He's a really good fighter. His only loss in the UFC came to Drew Dober, who is, like the chin of all chins. And he was the first guy to put Drew Dober down, and he really looked like he had him hurt. So I like McKinney in this fight, and this fight's really close as well, which makes me in odds wise it's really close. which makes me want to get a better look at this guy Ishmael Bonfim. So I think that's probably it's going to be one of the better fights of the night. I have to agree with you though, Kyle. Like Figueroa Moreno is just perfect.
I'm really excited to see Paul Craig and Johnny Walker as well, because you know that one of them is going to do something mental in that fight that is going to be a Twitter video for sure. Should also say we don't have very long to talk about it, but Francis Ngannou is live right now on Ariel's show and has said about how the contract negotiations weren't just about money. That wasn't the stalling point. I assume he's going to go on to talk about wanting to box. And he also said that he was offered around $8 million for 3 fights, which he wanted it to be Jones twice and then Stipe again. But yeah, that's literally live right now, so it's hard to talk about because we don't know what else is going to come out. But there you go. I feel like we'll end the podcast on that because we can't really talk about it because we don't know what else is going to be said. But I'm sure we'll recap it on the next episode once we have, the clarification of everything that has happened with